get there. And I see people making uncanny comparisons with Paul Kagame, my good friend Ibrahim Traoré. And I say, some of these folks are operating in a slightly different environment, where their word is obeyed instantly, without question. It's a different environment. You say, this guy is not doing things. Traore is doing them. Traore wakes up, dreams them up. Following morning, he makes a pronouncement. It is law. It is policy. Action follows. And I wake up and I say stuff, they look at me and say, what is this man talking about? We need to take it through this stage and that stage and put it to tender, float the tender. It takes 2 years, then we evaluate, then there are complaints, and there's an interdict. We wait another 4 years. By that time, you have to go and account to the people, and they remove you. Those who came before me did not fail because they didn't have ideas. They did. Maybe even better ideas. They just didn't implement them. Why? Because perhaps they failed to appreciate that the structures that are in place are not properly suited to the attainment of quick action. So you need to subvert some of these rules and processes unapologetically. And I will do it. Let me tell you here and now. I will. Within the confines of the law, and I know it. If there's anything I know, it's the law. That's all I know, really. So I will, within the law. Let me gratefully acknowledge each and every one of you individually and personally. And thank you for being here today. I was worried when I was coming here because I know that gatherings of this nature have a tendency of merely becoming a generous exchange of flattery platform where we don't speak honestly and tell each other the truth. I was comforted when I listened to the panelists. It seems we are here to speak honestly, truthfully to each other. So thank you very much for that. We acknowledge the Minister for Environment and Tourism. I heard his plea to me presented as some sort of subtext to what he was saying. He says, please keep me as minister. He says, let this be the first of many that you and I will address together. Basically saying, let me be the minister for the next 5 years. Don't think of shifting or removing me. I heard the plea. I heard another plea. Can Maung be a city? Actually, I was saying that as I was coming here this morning. I said, why isn't this place a city? I think it's about time. I heard a request that for me seems to assume the lineaments of a demand. It says, change the laws. And that's going to be the focus of my discussion with you today. And as you may realize, I always try and speak from the heart so that there's sincerity and candor in the discourse. I am a lawyer by habit, training, and practice. That's my craft. Making laws, changing them, critiquing. And so I am in familiar territory when I'm asked to review laws and change them. And I'm going to give you a simple formula that you must also apply in the conversation about law reform. In the legal profession, we call it the rule in Hayden's case. And Hayden's case was decided way back in the year 1584. Gave us a simple formula for law reform. It's called the mischief rule. The first thing we must establish is, what is the situation that obtains presently? What are the laws that are currently in place? We must understand them, so we must read the law so we understand what the current legal and regulatory framework provides. Before we do anything to the laws, what do they provide? Then we ask the next question. What is the problem with these laws as they stand now? The is proposition. What is the current state of play? What are the challenges and or problems with this current state of play? And I look to you, the industry participants and players, to inform and guide on what the challenges are, because you are in the front lines. You are the ones feeling the brunt more directly, perhaps, than myself and others. And some of the folks who have to sit and stand occasionally in Parliament to speak on these laws, they are not as much in the front lines as yourselves. So you carry a heavy obligation, therefore, of providing the raw data, the facts and the fact patterns that must inform any attempt at legislative reform. The Member of Parliament, the eminent gentleman for the area, when he speaks on matters of tourism and what legislative reforms must take place, must speak with authority, deriving from the information and the guidance he would have received from all of you, so that when he stands up in Parliament to speak, he is but your trumpet voice, presenting issues, ideas that he obtained from yourselves. So he becomes, therefore, your spokesperson. And that's what I want to hear from him in the next Parliament, which is when laws are going to be made. If he fails, I will hold you responsible. You would have failed him. So you need to then engage with him, give him ideas, prepare him thoroughly for the debate in Parliament, give him all the information that he will need as he engages in the process of reforming the very laws that you are complaining about. The third layer of the inquiry in the Hayden's case is, what then is the solution to the identified challenges and problems? We said, what is the state of play? What is the problem with this state of play? What are the solutions that we propose? And often when we get here, it gets murky. Politicians tend to confuse themselves here, a lot of them, because they come with the arrogance of thinking whatever they say is the gospel truth. It actually is not. Never is. It's not about blueprints, I've said, and I say it here, I'll say it going forward. It's about pathways. We explore, we examine, we probe the options available to us at any given point of time. What is it that we can do about these problems? How should we resolve them? Very critical. And when we engage at this level, respectfully, we listen to every voice, every view and viewpoint, and try and understand what the merits of each proposition are. And we engage with those merits, identify any demerits, blend, harmonize these different varied, variegated views and viewpoints, the better for us to come to some common position, a common center of consciousness. It's not about blueprints. And politicians, when they stand up in Parliament, they present some assumed gospel truth, lacking hermeneutic humility, the ability to appreciate that whatever you say is capable of revision and critique. This is what it's about. That is why we must always be humble. Whether you are president or whatever you think you are, you've got to be humble and listen to the other person, because they may actually hold a fragment of the truth which you can bring into your own stance to fortify it. And this is what leadership represents. That humility. There is no way in which you can not be humble. On what basis, really? That you can refuse to listen to other people. And I bring in the third of the pleas that I've heard today. There used to be a tourism pizza that for some strange reason fell into obsolescence. It now is no longer taking place. You want it back. You are demanding. You frame it as if you are pleading and begging. You were not begging. I heard the undertones. You were demanding. And that demand is acceded to here and now. And don't thank me. I'm not doing anybody any favor. In fact, I'm doing myself a favor, if you look at it. By agreeing to hold this pizza, I'm allowing myself to be informed, to be guided, to be educated, to be schooled by people who know. And so how would I refuse? Why would I not take you up on this offer to school me, to train me, to educate me as the experts? I take you up on your offer, and I accept it readily. And so you will schedule. And the other request, you called it a courtesy call. Well, maybe let's call it that. Let's meet. I'm ready anytime. Sometime, in fact, almost every day I sit up in meetings until 12 midnight. If you guys are ready to start at 9 p.m. and we go on until 1 a.m., I'm happy. So it's important for us to engage so that we challenge each other. We push each other hard. We force each other to transcend some of these levels of the mundane, the conventional, and the commonplace. We transition to a different level of thinking and operation. The fourth layer of the inquiry in Hayden's case is, now having proffered the solutions, we engage in what they call a means-ends test. Are the means that we have fashioned, developed, and are about to deploy properly tailored to the attainment of the goals that we have identified? In American constitutional jurisprudence, they call it the means-ends calculus. Must engage in this manner. So it's a very simple formula, not complicated at all. Doesn't need you to be a lawyer. You ask these questions as you engage with the process of legislative reform. And so when the lawyers come and speak their convoluted legalese, you are able to break it down and bring it down to brass tacks and say, what was the situation before you did this? What were the problems that we all identified? What are the solutions that we are thinking of deploying? Are these solutions properly tailored for the attainment of the envisioned goals? This is the formula. We're going to engage in law reform. You are going to guide the Member of Parliament and other members of Parliament. Other legislators, by the way. You need to engage with all of them so that they understand these issues. They can represent your views, your desires, and we can then move our country forward. Legislative reform, I've given you a simple formula. So when you engage with me next, when you come for the consultations and discussions and the pizzos, we will be working within this framework so that we know where we are going. Very, very important. We are not in any doubt that tourism presents a huge potential for our country. As we speak, it comes immediately after diamonds. In fact, if we manage it well, it may overtake diamonds. Why not? Why not? And so we need to wrestle with some of the attendant challenges and problems as we seek to grow the industry. And you framed your theme in a very interesting way. You framed it as a question. What are the conditions for growth? Interesting way of crafting a theme. We realize you've had problems. You mentioned the renewals of leases. Some of these things actually confuse and confound my rudimentary understanding. Why does it take 2 days to get a lease renewed? Why does it take? Yeah, exactly. Why does it take that amount of time? What is the problem? And I asked some of the public officers, because when they are given stuff to do, you hear the permanent secretary says he or she is considering it. I said, break it down for me. Considering, what does it mean exactly? Blow by blow, what are you doing? When you say you are considering, what are you talking about? And I know what it means. You've taken it and shelved it, and you are busy with your other activities. You may return to it sometime later. It doesn't work like that. And so I've asked for agility. When stuff comes, it mustn't be done now, today, or tomorrow. Yesterday. And so I was engaging with the Attorney General recently. She says, this is a bulky document. We need to take time to go over it. I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You're given the document at 5 p.m., 1,000 pages, whatever it is. First thing in the morning tomorrow, you and I must be talking about the document, settling it. If it has to be signed, we have to sign. And so the Attorney General is now agile. It's taking a bit of time to infuse the same level of agility in other areas, but we will get there. We will get there. And I see people making uncanny comparisons with Paul Kagame, my good friend Ibrahim Traoré. And I say, some of these folks are operating in a slightly different environment, where their word is obeyed instantly, without question. It's a different environment. You say, this guy is not doing things. Traore is doing them. Yeah, Traore wakes up, dreams them up. Following morning, he makes a pronouncement. It is law. It is policy. Action follows. And I wake up and I say stuff, they look at me and say, what is this? What is this man talking about? We need to take it through this stage and that stage and put it to tender, float the tender. It takes 2 years, then we evaluate, then there are complaints, and there's an interdict. We wait another 4 years. By that time, you have to go and account to the people, and they remove you. Those who came before me did not fail because they didn't have ideas. They did. maybe even better ideas. They just didn't implement them. Why? Because perhaps they failed to appreciate that the structures that are in place are not properly suited to the attainment of quick action. So you need to subvert some of these rules and processes unapologetically. And I will do it. Let me tell you here and now. I will. Within the confines of the law, and I know it. If there's anything I know, it's the law. That's all I know, really. So I will, within the law. Tell me to flight a tender, take 2 years to procure some much-needed service. I'm not going to waste anybody's time with that. I'm going to take the quick route, as the crow flies, straight on to action. And I'll take fire from politicians. That's what I'm always ready for. I like it. I enjoy, I relish the fire. But I will do what is good for the people. For any industry that must drive and power this economy, we're going to do it together. So, with the ideas that you will churn out and channel to the government, which will be well thought out, informed by your experiences, we will then shape policy, develop our laws, and make the environment conducive to your doing the business that you so passionately love. There's another angle. When I broached the subject of a living wage of 4,000, one of the members of one of the business people said, we've gone beyond what you suggest. We've actually introduced a system by which our employees can also acquire some stake in the business and become part owners, shareholders in some shape or form of the business. Very interesting proposition. As a tool to manage, when they are invested in the business themselves, and they know that if they go on strike, they are affecting their own profits, as it were, or dividends, I don't think they'll be quick to strike. And so we can deploy this as a management strategy, actually, if we are not committed to the principle that at least it will manage our industrial relations. There will be no conflict. But there are other compelling reasons for the living wage, advanced by scholars and economists. They say it curbs absenteeism, that it increases productivity. When they are paid reasonably well, they are happier. They are therefore more disposed to perform optimally. That there is no decision fatigue. They apply themselves. And when productivity is raised, even the profits will increase. So there's a compelling argument for the living wage. And at this point, I simply implore and encourage that we take this route of the living wage so that our employees are happier, more productive. There's no turnover where you have now keep training few months the person goes. It's a huge cost to the company when you go through such cycles. So it's important for us to understand these things. And I'm here to assure you that your government, and I want you to understand this, your government, and often when I see stuff written by the civil service, my government, no, I don't have a government. I'm part of a government that is serving you. It's your government. So you must make it the government you deserve. And you must guide, you must inform, you must always be there to engage, to direct, and to ensure that what is done is in accordance with the dictates of what the industry wants. And that's my job, really. Very simple task for me. I have the easiest job in the world, by the way. I just have to listen to people who know, understand what they are saying, and do it. Can that be difficult? No. So why do we complicate some of these things? This is how easy it is. And so I am happy to be here with you today. I trust that you will engage fruitfully, robustly in your deliberations, that you will fashion appropriate solutions for the transient problems that we continue to face as a country, as the tourism industry, that other aspects, transportation, marketing, we develop together. You point out what has to be done and how we also manage the destination management companies which are domiciled outside our jurisdiction, but which trade in inventory that is sitting here and profit from it in a manner that we cannot access. We may at some point have to pass a law that says every entity wherever registered that is dealing in our inventory, the wildlife, the wilderness, wherever it is registered, is deemed to be domiciled in Botswana for purposes of tax and other considerations. We may have to go that route. I'm merely signaling. I'm not there yet. I'm throwing it to you so that you can bounce it back more refined. And then we will be able to deal with some of the challenges of the human-wildlife conflict. And the reality there is, these folks who have to coexist with the wildlife. I come from Mahalap. There are no elephants there. There are no lions. There's no wildlife in Mahalap. So I've not had to coexist with these animals. But others in certain other parts of the country face a different lived reality. They have to coexist with these. They can't grow crops. Their whole economic landscape is shaped by the overbearing presence of the wildlife. And so certain things that I can do in Mahalape, they can't do in their area. But when the proceeds of tourism come, we are expected to partake of them equally. it actually is inequitable. We need to introduce a fair bit of equity, not equality, equity, appreciating that they are bearing a heavier risk than those of us who are somewhat detached from the wildlife. And so a system of recompense that acknowledges this lived reality of theirs and invests a portion of the proceeds of this industry into securing their lives and livelihoods is actually a requirement at this point. In fact, we have delayed, and as a result, we have treated them unfairly. We need to acknowledge these. And so we've subjected them to conditions of poverty. I know Jonama Trading says poverty can be romantic, but I say poverty is a violation of human rights. Maybe romantic, Jonama Trading, but it's a violation of human rights. And so if we, in our policies and practices, continue to expose our people to some of these realities, then we must acknowledge we are failing them. So I hope that it will be one of the issues you will raise and discuss and bring solutions to, so that we are able to make adequate provision, so that we mitigate the disproportionality of impact that exists in these circumstances. These are the issues that, in my humble view, we cannot sidestep, we cannot escape. We must confront them head on together. And so at this point, I am extremely happy. It gives me great pleasure to now declare your conference officially open. Thank you so very much for the privilege of your company here this morning and the pleasure of your kind attention. Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Another round of applause for Mr. President Boko. I'd like to also call upon to the stage for a token of appreciation the Minister Re Muluti and the board chair Hatab Re Motsi to give the President a token of appreciation. Well, you challenged him, he challenged you back. So, Derek, you think we can do a documentary about Maung from the Mokoro to the town, to the city? You see, I challenged him, he challenged us back. So somebody should capture this moment of Maung on the 24th of April, 2025. The challenge of it becoming a city. He thought the same thing. And like I said earlier, the exhibitors, please make sure that there are people in your stalls, because after this, we are just going to have a poetry session to usher the President to his seat. And then we will have a vote of thanks from the Vice Chair of HATAB, Me Keletso Bokhatu. Then we are going to be touring the stalls with the President and his delegation. I see that Reb Moluti's ministry is very busy, extremely busy. Rare ke simolla go ya parlamenteng a ke go reetsa ka tlhamalalo. A portrait. From natural selection for Mr. President. I'm actually excited about the topics that we are still going to have throughout these sessions. I said there are 5 sessions, and we are looking forward to that. I think this one works on a Zoom now. I think there is another token of appreciation that you are bringing onto the stage. Bana ba bo gae ba diretse tautona. Thank you very much.
This one is for the minister.
Oh, this one.